So any announcements that...
Recording is on.
Oh, there it goes. All right. So any announcements for...
Yeah, I have one.
All right, great.
Fedora's contributor yearly survey is up. You can go and take it now. I'll drop the link in chat. Slowly, you would see it coming up on different websites, different mailing lists, different places. But today is the first day. And get a badge. We have a badge for that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Seems like there's 3 other announcements. Should I just read those, or does anybody else want to just chime in with their announcements?
Yeah, John, you can go ahead.
All right, I will go ahead and read them. So Fedora India will be holding a RPM Packaging 101 classroom on the 4th of June. So that seems pretty exciting if you're looking into figuring out how to get things into RPM packages. Survey banner is up on the list for the FPO. Not entirely sure what that I guess that's what people was talking about.
Yeah, that's the interface to see mailing list archives and subscribe to different mailing lists.
Okay. Oh,
yeah. HyperKitty.
The HyperKitty. Yeah.
I see. All right, and then the survey banner is up on the wiki as well. All right, those are the announcements for this week, and then we're running a little behind schedule, so I'll just move into the next one unless somebody chimes in. Follow-ups on past action items. So next week or last week we talked about we had a few action items. Uploads for meetings to YouTube. Justin, do you have anything to report on that?
So for the previous ones, that was the meetings that Ramya recorded, and she and Akash just got access to the Fedora YouTube. So that was a blocker as we were trying to figure out how to add new people to the Fedora YouTube. Just got that figured out. So I think they're either, we'll probably try to work on uploading them this week. I'll get today's uploaded, but I don't have the files for the previous ones. So now that we have the access figured out, hopefully get those up in a week or 2. Maybe keep it on there for future follow-up.
Was there a permissions issue? Like we wanted to get everyone's permission to be recorded in these meetings too, or has that been resolved?
I'm not sure. I may have missed that.
That was something. Yeah, Justin. So it was something which was discussed earlier on by Michael, and the fact that there was some confusion between the videos being unlisted. I mean, it's generally available, but it would be only visible to those who have the link to that video, and private when the video is not at all visible to anyone, irrespective of the link or not. So there was a bit of confusion between the 2 of them. So yeah, that's resolved. That was like a couple of weeks back.
Okay, great. And then Marie was supposed to reach out to Adam Semelik about adding the banner docs to the page. Does anyone know that that's resolved?
If I remember correctly, she mentioned that Adam was on PTO. Yeah,
yes, vacation. Yeah, so John, she has listed progress related to that thing. It's not completely resolved per se, but the thing is that she reached out to Adam, and Adam will provide the updates shortly. Also, the next point being Marie to look for fun activity for the team. It's also something that she would probably look into for the next week. So I think this should be something which should be included in, well, this week's action item.
All right. And then, so I think Matthew did create his Taiga issue. Is that right? From the action item last week?
I don't know exactly about a Taiga issue, but there seems to be a discussion.
No, I'm just saying, for the reference, what Taiga issue we are talking about is for the getfedora.org update. When you mentioned that we like to see update, we mentioned a Taiga card would be better, and so that we can track it from there.
Okay. All right, and then
right.
So this one's been resolved. Is that right?
Not actually. The Tiger card is still something which needs to be created, I think.
Okay.
A discussion thread has been created under the Fedora websites and apps section in discussions FPO, but we still need to see if a Tiger card is created or not. Not very sure if it is done.
All right. And okay, so Sayak, you had 2 action items as well, to create a Taiga card for Easy Fix site, and then to create an epic for separate cards for tracking easy fixes. Is that done? Sayak, can you hear us?
Hey guys, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you are.
Hey, sorry, my internet is messed up. Okay, yeah. So for the type cards, I had already created these last week uh, for easy fix, as well as uh, creating a separate epic for easy fix. So this was already done last week.
All right, great. I'll check them off. And then Ramya, to create a Tiger card for the banner documentation. Oh, is she not?
So Ramya is not here, but it's created. It's done.
Okay, great. I'll check that off. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, great. So those were the action items from last week. And then Tiger-driven discussion is on the list, and then we'll have 5 minutes before 5 minutes before the end of the meeting. I'll try and give us a chime in so we can wrap up with open floor discussion. So, all right. So the Tiger-driven discussion, that's what's left. There was a functional split on the task ownership into 2 parts. There's a front-end heavy and a back-end heavy. How's that going? Is that working its way through?
So during the discussion that we had last week, there was kind of a prevalence of mode and back-end heavy stuff being discussed more as compared to front-end heavy, which kind of left out folks who were more inclined to contribute on the front-end side of things. So me and Ramya had this discussion during the weekend. We thought that maybe it would be better if we split this. Objective of ours into a parallelism kind of thing, that a part of the team would work on stuff which is more front end heavy, design perspective and UI UX stuff like that, and the other one would be working on back end and DevOps infrastructure side of things. So we kind of came into a same page. We came into the same ground that it would kind of help. It would not hold us back from not contributing just because something which is being developed as of now is something that folks cannot contribute to. There's always something to contribute to, and it's not something that would be exclusive. So if someone is working on back end and they figured that out, that so there's this front end which kind of needs slight adjustments in order to make sure it looks good, so they would be able to do that at the very same time. The folks from front end would be able to make their contributions to the back end upside of things. So that's pretty much about it. I also listed the folks who would be interested in handling those, ownership side of things. Obviously, other folks would be just as interested in doing stuff, but I just listed the ownership that these would be the folks who would have more information on what's going on those sites. And also the projects that will be worked on. So for front end heavy days, start FPO, easy fix, and then like we talked about the get for the reboot that is going to take some time, maybe this release or the coming one, that would be worked on by the front end team, and the back end one would be patches and mode for now, but soon enough there will be other things to work on. Yeah, Justin, you have your hands raised. You want to say something?
Yeah, just wanted to, so because we haven't gone into this Taiga-driven discussion in the agenda before, and this is the first time we're trying this out, I just wanted to share a tip on how I've usually tried to guide meetings with using the Taiga board for how we can use that to check in.
Oh, that'd be
Normally
great.
what I do in developer sprints is like the main purpose of using the Taiga board is we have all the text and all the information already spread out. So we don't need to do big verbal updates as much. So we can try to make the meeting more focused on quick follow-ups on what pending questions are left and where we need to look at. So when I'm working with these boards, I normally go right to left. I'll work with really just the in progress column because ideally all of those have had action points where they're either going to be done or they're still work in progress. And you can actually add comments to every card if you wanted to do an update on community survey banner, like, still in progress. We have that on the mailing list as of this morning, but we still need to figure out the docs website. And you could just add that as a comment. So I'll usually go I'll go through the in progress and the to do now column. We haven't really figured out a sprint cadence cycle. Like, are we working in 2-week sprints? Are we working in 1-month sprints? That could be a good discussion to have in terms of what the difference is between those to do now and to do soon columns. But anyways, I just usually start with those two, the in progress and what's to do right now, because those ones are either going to be no updates or they're done, or we can have a discussion about any blockers that any of the assignees are facing on those. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, that's helpful.
Context?
Yeah, I appreciate that insight. So so if everyone has the Taiga board up, I'll drop it in the chat so that we can just to make sure everyone can follow along. And then so yes, now we will go to the Taiga board and we're looking at the in progress and the to do now. And maybe the to do soons if we get to them. It sounds like. And then so there's 3 here. Community survey banner. It sounds like we've discussed that a little bit already. It's on its way. It's waiting on a vote. And then the convert to Python 2 tests to Python 3 with talks. Is that that is assigned? And then is that being blocked, or does anybody have any update on that one?
It was Jan Kopari, who was working on it. It's been a while, like about 2 weeks since we had the last update from him.
Okay.
But I believe I can reach out to him asking for updates.
Okay, great. And then investigate Moat RPM packaging. I believe that was. We're sharing it now. Okay. Was that you, Akash? That was assigned to?
Yeah, it was me. So basically, I reached out to Shawi in order for the fact that if he wants to continue packaging more because he was the last packager. But then on, we had discussions with the infra team that there's no deadlines to which we should, adhere to in order to make sure that it's converted from Fed message to Fedora messaging. And in order for that, we also had discussions with Cyan as well as Farhan. So that is something which is in progress, but the kind of thing is which is in parity is the fact that the banner must be done first.
Okay. All right, so that's the in progress column. I guess I'll shift to the to do now column. Akash, you're the first one on that one as well. So update Flask version remote.
Yeah, it's kind of the same situation over here as well. Just because the banner is the thing which is kind of in fire and needs to be done first. So didn't have much time to take a look into that.
Okay, and then there's a to do now which is not assigned yet. It's information about Fedora websites and apps is accessible and easy to find. So I think that's related to the discussion topic, which is creating a landing page. So it's not really assigned yet. Does anybody have any ideas, or what's the status of that?
So it was one of the next things that we wanted to discuss on, and the discussions list on HackMD. So we had a run-in with a lot of welcome tickets, and folks were mostly interested in web development, but they did not know where to start from. I literally had to go under those tickets, comment that yeah, this is the place that you would want to take a look at. This is the objective that we are trying to make, maintaining websites and applications. So Ramya had this ticket in order to make sure that we have a landing page for new contributors and for the ones who have been here for a while, but they're looking forward to contributing to those websites and apps. So how would they do that? So it doesn't have any kind of an assignee, and for now it's still something which needs to be discussed about with design team, with other folks, and I believe that can be done asynchronously. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to put forth.
Okay. All right. So that one's gonna probably stay as not assigned for the time being.
Yeah, it's
All
just
right.
going to stay like that for now.
All right. So yeah, I do think that that's a really great thing to get up and going, like Fedora websites and apps, easy to find. So there's some information on it. So uh, maybe like I think that like how when do we want that done by? Do we have a date on this one? Uh,
Not exactly. We would like to have a date because when that happens, things are kind of likely to roll faster. But I believe it's something to discuss about first. Once we have our, the goals clear, that we need to first get our designs, mock-ups on our design team, and then how it needs to be implemented, the pages and stuff like that. And then we can come into the part where we know that this is a checkpoint which needs to be fulfilled in a certain amount of time.
okay. All right, and then so Justin, I think you're on the to do now for for this last one in the to do column, the create a process workflow for creating websites and apps docs.
Yeah, I actually think this does tie into the last one too, just about information about Fedora websites and apps is easy to find, because this is about getting our documentation website up. For context, we do already have this websites documentation that's already published and exists. It's existed for a long time, but we don't have a process of how to update it or even what we would want to update. A lot of this information is pretty dated already. So I don't have a question on process yet, but I guess here's what I wanted to ask was if next meeting, if I have a chance to prepare like a little bit of like a 20-minute activity, like with sticky notes and on a Miro board, if that would be helpful to do some brainstorming. I just wanted to flag this for discussion this week, because if it sounds interesting, I can take some time to prep for that next week and take 20 minutes next week to go through that.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
That sounds interesting, Justin.
That would be great, Justin. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll just take a note then. I'll work on this in the next week before next week's meeting, and we'll just save. I think it should just need no more than 20 minutes next week. I'll try to keep it short and sweet.
Cool. I have something just kind of, I think it's sort of related to this. I've been working on the Comblog banner, which I should be able to get up today. It's just the way that the WordPress theme is all set up, like you have to go and edit that, and there's no child theme, so it's like a whole thing. But yeah, like the dealing with the WordPress theme stuff, like I'm getting the impression that it's like something that people don't want to touch too much, and like with good reason, and it's in PHP and whatnot. So with like coming up with just some docs, like something for like when we do have to make small adjustments, like put a banner into it and whatnot, like code snippets or some overview on how to do that so it's a little bit easier in the future. Would that kind of thing fall into this? Is that kind of like what sort of documentation you're thinking?
Absolutely. Yes. That's
Before we
some
go
of the
into that, Ashton, I just want to know how much have you progressed into that, and how early do you think can it be completed?
Yeah, no, I think like by later on this afternoon, I should get that up. Like I was able to get it into a local host thing and just kind of figure out where the piece of code needs to be. I never work in PHP. Like I've done WordPress stuff before and like very, very minor amounts of PHP, but yeah, like this is it's all set up by somebody else, like in 2013 it looked like. So the approach to coding, it's different. So I just want to make sure to write something that works with that. But yeah,
Yeah, that was actually the
I kind
reason
of
why I asked,
agree.
PHP can be challenging. Go ahead, Saik, sorry about that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Like, who uses PHP nowadays? Like,
Exactly.
ask any web developer about it, and it's gonna be a nightmare because it's more like once you have started using things once you have started using progressive web apps, going back to PHP-based development, especially for things such as WordPress, can be a bit of a nightmare. I was myself a very big advocate of Drupal and WordPress. I used to be a core contributor to these communities as well. Nowadays, when I try to go back and work on, say, Drupal or WordPress, I end up throwing my like hands in the air and just giving up. And it's just too much. It feels like too much. I don't know, cumbersome work.
yeah, it's a big hassle, right? I don't know. I've
Yeah.
got like two people, like personal clients that want WordPress sites, and one of them wants like a lot of customized theme stuff. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to write stuff for that anyway. So I'm okay with like as we go along taking on a little bit of the WordPress PHP business. It's a time.
Yeah, and also the other thing about WordPress, especially nowadays, is that they have introduced all these visual editors and stuff, which are really nice, but they're also very very restrictive. Like gone are the days of that simple WordPress or simple Drupal architecture where you could just tinker with one or two files in the background and boom, you're done. You have a nice little looking web page on the front end. Now tinkering with, like, you have got so many sub modules and whatnot. It's just too complicated now.
hmm Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when I was like learning and working with WordPress during the winter in school, we were using Elementor and what's it called, Gutenberg, for the most part, and a little bit of the theme editor. Where it looks like this was done before that stuff was like really really popular. So yeah, the workflow and whole way of thinking with it. So I don't know if modernizing that is something that we want to look at doing too.
Mm.
Someone who has XD.
Maybe just a quick thing to add in here. I think that just to bring it back on track, I think there is a wider discussion about WordPress and Drupal and best practices, but I don't know if this will be the right place to go into those details now. I think
Totally.
looking at this though, I don't think we should write it off, cross it off the table, because PHP is a language that a lot of people know. It's something that a lot of people get started with, and it's one way that we can improve our inclusivity as a team by having different kinds of projects people can work on. Because it's possible we'll get someone who's a hardcore WordPress PHP developer, but they've never touched React.js in their life. They're just not in this call right now.
Yeah.
But I think you did touch on something, Ashlyn, that there is a little bit of a I call it the theme graveyard with the community blog, and the Fedora magazine theme is also here. I don't know if you've seen this repo. I've just remembered I was screen sharing. But there's a Pagor repo with the community blog theme. Same for the magazine.
Yeah, that's the one I've been working on.
Oh, super. Okay, yeah. So no one has actively maintained this, but I think that's definitely within, like, that could be a really interesting goal for this team. When I circle back to the documentation conversation next week, that'll be helpful. But I think if you would want, since you're working with this now, we can think about adding some steps here about how to update the community blog theme. It can just be like 5 or 10 steps. It doesn't have to be an essay. But if you can just take some notes as you're going through this, because you're probably the first person who's touched it in, looks like 2 years, you'll probably have the most experience and knowledge of this, because even some of these folks, like I know Ryan Lurch and Rick Elrod, they probably know this a little bit, but they work on so many things. So you might even have a little more comfort with it than they might, just because it's been 2 years. Over.
Valid. That's cool. And sorry, I'll stop now. But a last thing that you touched on there, and I think this is really important with our that previous card we were talking about splitting into front end and back end a bit more. Because it seems like right now there's a really great space for Python developers, but not a whole lot for PHP and JavaScript developers. And the front end side of things could really create those types of environments for growing our team.
Yeah, because Fedora's community has been using a lot of Python in the backend. Now that doesn't even go for just the web development side of things. It has been kind of been around in all the phases. So totally, when you mentioned that JavaScript and PHP can be something to work on, basically the front end side of things to be very general. So totally,
I
yeah.
can maybe share a bit of insight about what I personally about some challenges that I personally faced when I started a long time back trying to find ways to contribute to Fedora. Uh, there have been so many instances in the past where I just came to the community and went back because I was not proficient enough in Python, and everything around me in Fedora seemed to be only in Python. And that was a major challenge. I'm not saying that's the case now or whatever. That was probably not even the case back then. It was my experience. But maybe having something highlighting that there are things to do in JavaScript or whatever language you are proficient in might be
Like,
helpful.
yeah. So that's actually I think I was actually thinking about this too, all the things that I felt like were sort of lacking in Fedora, when I started contributing to it last summer. And just what sort of things are available to work on these sorts of things. And I think maybe we could start a mailing list thread about this, and other people would get eyes on it too, and we could see what other people have to say. Does that sound like a good action item for this, or something like that?
So for the context, Sean, we have had this mailing list item about 5 years back. So it was Pingu, who created this, asking what would be the possible JavaScript libraries for the front end side of things that we can make use of. And there was a very long discussions about 200 threads and counting, 200 replies to the threads and counting. And the most recent reply was made in the last month. So it has been something which has been active, but yeah, this needs to be discussed about. But maybe we would try to do something else because this has something, it has already been done.
All right, yeah. All right. So then maybe for next week, we all just kind of bring our sort of experiences with us about our first contributions to Fedora, and we sort of try and hash out that email list and our experiences with getting started with the Fedora project. Does that sound like a good action item? And then we'll move on from this topic because we only have a few more minutes.
Yeah, +1.
Okay, cool. So, all right, so we have 10 minutes before general discussion on things in general. And then, so back to the board, we'll do the to-dos soon. So there's 2 easy fix items. I'll start with those 2 because they probably go well together. Review and design suggestions and convert design propositions to code. So does this have to do with the wireframing we were talking about, or is this separate?
John, you'd want to stick to the HackMD node for now, because the cards have not been assigned, arranged in order for to be discussed in the meet. They would be from next meet onwards, but we kind of forgot to add these things as cards. So
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So I feel like we've discussed the first bullet point in the HackMD list, and then prioritization might be the next thing, or we took, because we also just so prioritization, get Fedora reboot, easy fix revamp, and start FPO revamp. So will it be first, second, or third? We're not even sure which reboot / revamp we're on. Did anybody figure that out?
It's kind of all at once. We're at the design phase of all three of these, except for Get Fedora Reboot. It's still something that we're discussing about. You know, it was just something which was introduced in last week. So, Justin, please go ahead.
Yeah, so like you said, I think the Get Fedora conversation is probably going to be the biggest conversation and the one that takes the most resources because that's the front page of the project. So I know that one is just getting started, but I know that the Start FPO revamp, that one has already been mocked up with the new logo and has a new redesign, and it's in a design ticket somewhere. Maybe someone can fish up the link for that, but this could be a good opportunity for us. There's not a whole lot of development work here, but there is a chance to get more operations experience, looking at how we can deploy that. That'll probably be a conversation with Fedora infrastructure. So I think that's probably where we are with that one. So that could be a good opportunity to get more infrastructure experience before we take on something bigger like the Get Fedora websites. The easy fix, I haven't seen mockups. Maybe Akash has some points to add in here on that, but I think that could be a good development opportunity for anyone that's wanting to write code. That might be where we start first. I just like the idea of doing Get Fedora last because that's going to be the biggest one, and I like starting with smaller projects before we take on the huge main website of the entire project.
Totally makes sense. Start a few mockups have been in progress since last 2 years, and easy fix revamps mockups along with the heuristic evaluation side of things have been in progress since last 8 months. One of the interns, or let's just say applicants for outreach, he had worked on them. So yeah, these things are in progress. These are in rolling status. So it would be much easier to get started with these things. And keeping in mind that Start FPO is just a page; it's not a website as a whole. So it just makes use of some static templating. So it would be really easy for folks to get their hands into developing this. Easy fix as well. It's just templating of multiple issues fetched from various websites which have labeled easy fix on them. So just like Justin said, I prioritized them. Start FPO being the first, easy fix being the second, and Get Fedora being third. Just want to have plus one from everyone's side. Just making sure that everyone is on the same plan for this one.
All right. So does everyone feel satisfied with that prioritization bullet point? Is there anything else to add? All right. With that, I'll move to these other three requires assignment bullet points. Management of easy fix design review, management of Get Fedora design propositions, and management of FPO revamp design review. All right, so we have our prioritization. The first one is that we should probably work on in these next 5 minutes is somebody that can manage the FPO revamp. Anybody?
I'd be into that.
Great, awesome.
So you asked for Start FPO, didn't you? I'm just going to go ahead and add your name.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so Start FPO is done with. Who would want to go with easy fix? It's just a point of contact. You don't have to be accountable or some sort, nothing like that. You just have to, know about what's going on.
And if there's not someone interested here, we could also put this out on the info mailing list or the discourse category just for folks who weren't here at the meeting, if someone's interested in leading on the Easy Fix site.
I can be a free radical for these if nobody shows up. I can be I can take one of them and be a free radical for it.
So how about I give you the easy fix one?
Well, I think we should put it on the mailing list first, so see if anybody else wants to take it. But like if nobody does, then I will take it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that can be one of the action items, in order to put this thing into the mailing list. that we're looking for folks who would want to take on this task. Cool.
Wonderful. Ashlyn, was that you volunteering to put it on the mailing list, or was that just a stretch?
That was just a stretch.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I can throw this on the mailing list, and then if nobody wants to nobody has the time to do these right now. Okay. And so with that, we actually got through quite well, despite starting early, or late. I apologize. Anything else to discuss in terms of these that I might have missed or glossed over a little too quickly on the discussion board before I open it up the discussion for just some wrap up or open floor?
I think it went just fine. There was equal focus on every single thing. Thanks for sharing the meat, John.
All right. Actually, I think Justin shared that, but yeah, I appreciate Justin sharing it. But yeah. So, chairing. Thanks. Oh, I see. All right. Thanks. I appreciate that. Okay. So yeah, open up the floor for discussion, and then I feel like I cut off Sayak a little earlier. Maybe he wants to return to what he was talking about. Like it was in terms of like just general things that we all struggle with or may have struggled with when we first started contributing. Maybe this would be a good time to reopen that brainstorming process. All right, am I still audible? Is that?
Yes, you are. Sayak's connection has grayed out, so I think the connection is lost from his end. So maybe in the meanwhile, someone else can take that up.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Atiksha, Eddie, and Thalia. How about you folks? How has your experience been? What difficulties, if you face difficulties, that is, that you faced while contributing?
I'll say, I mean, I have actually made a contribution yet. This is like day 3 of just getting involved. But I found the infrastructure side and the sysadmin side via the wiki page, and then later I found the what can I do for Fedora.org page, and was kind of clicking through that because from what I gather, that page will eventually send you to whatever the wiki is for whatever team you'd be a part of. And that one, I kept trying to answer questions that would eventually get me to infrastructure sysadmin, and it didn't seem like there was like a line of questioning that would go to that, which isn't necessarily a problem. But if you're looking to try to help non-developers see what they can do in the Fedora space that isn't just documentation related, then that might be worth some time in the future.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Like the sysadmin stuff, it's not so clear, and I think there are like last time I checked there on the mailing list, like there was like apprenticeship things for the sysadmin thing that were still open.
Yeah.
If
Apprentice give you access to most of the server with read access, so you can go around and see how things are set up. Right now, the way we have been following is just come to the meeting, say hi, mention that you are interested, and that's very easy to get into group because it's just read access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
And
it's like there's stuff there for potential contributors for sysadmin, but a person would have to dig a bit to find it, which again isn't actually a problem. But if you're if you're in the phase of how quickly can we catch someone to to try to get into the project, you might want to have that kind of in the back of your heads when you're thinking through how do we want to present. Here's how you can contribute.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the
Um,
challenging things
so
with infrastructure have been. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry. I do not want to cut you off.
That's all right.
I
Go
can go
ahead.
ahead later. Okay. So one of the things that this entire discussion is reminding me of is about that what can I do for Fedora site. I think all of these information should be linked better from the what can I do for Fedora website. That's Ask Not. Yeah, thanks obviously for reminding. Um, I remember having a really lengthy conversation last year at a DEF CONF about the revamp process for what can I do for Fedora, and that's when we had been talking about we were talking about the entire websites and apps revamping. But I don't know what's the status of that right now. But I think all of these troubles can be addressed really well by working on Ask Not and getting it redeployed with updated details about everything from infrastructures. So, if you're talking about sysadmin, okay, how does one get started? And I'm personally not a fan of these humongous wiki pages that we have everywhere, because frankly, if I have suppose half an hour of time or 1 hour of time a day, and I want to contribute to something, and I know I can get a lot done in 1 hour, I do not like going through reading through lengthy wikis. So I think that's more of a UX problem that we have on our hands right now, and we should really work on fixing that. So
Yeah. Like maybe even like when we have a nice setup, like maybe we should have like a YouTube video from like each from someone who's like a software front end developer, software back end developer, and a sysadmin, like all like explaining like their workflows and like how to walk through them. That might be useful.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Eddie's point. I have as well been trying to contribute to some issue, but I have not been able to find one. I have recently contributed to, as you mentioned, one of the documentation parts for the Fedora joint party, release party. But after that, I could not make much progress because I'm actually searching for something that would interest me and that I could understand, like a good first issue of sorts. But I am working on that. Definitely, I will find something very soon, I hope.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I remember. Last summer when I was starting to be assigned things for Fedora, it was like my mentor Misk. He actually he had to like reach out to a bunch of people like to like figure out what needed to be done and what was actually like a good first project. Like, and he had to do that for me. So like, I definitely know like it's a big hurdle to get your first thing going on the Fedora project. And even when you get your first thing going, it's like, oh, now you need to integration test everything. So it's like there's these hurdle. And so how do you test everything and make sure it's working properly? So yeah, so all these like troubles that I think we're all having, I think it's going to be good for us to like really bring them together with Justin next week. And yeah, so I think this is really a worthwhile thing we're all doing right now, which is getting this landing page and everything all set up. So with that, I think I might close out the open floor discussion. I'll wait for next week to do it. Do we have a chair for next week and the week after that yet?
I believe it's going to be Ramya for the next week, and we don't have one for a week after. So, Adiksha, would you like to volunteer?
Yeah, I would love to.
Awesome. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add your name over there.
Sure.
All right. So with that, I think we are good to close out the meeting for next week. I'll see everyone next Tuesday.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks for sharing.
Well,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
nice to meet
everyone.
you folks.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.